This is the September issue, and we are thrilled to be bringing you, again, my favorite portion of the show is when a new business opens in downtown Bennington. And the good news is, I'm here today with Christopher LaFlamme. Christopher, thank you. You're welcome, and thanks for joining us downtown. It's great news, what an awesome story, and what a beautiful thing that happened. This seems like a win-win-win situation.
I agree.
But we're gonna start back a little bit with the history of about the business,
sure.
How it started, about your family maybe, and
Absolutely.
then your introduction to Bennington and some of the unfortunate events that turned out to the benefit of everybody, I hope.
I agree.
But a little bit about the history of the business.
Well, about 12 years ago, my wife and I and my cousin Irvin, who was my first business partner, we sat together and we decided we wanted to go into business together, and we actually had several options. And there were several businesses that were for sale. And I remember sitting at a picnic table eating an ice cream cone, and we decided absolutely whatever we do, don't buy the furniture store. And there were several other businesses available. So within 12 hours, we bought the furniture store.
Of course.
We proclaimed it to be the last thing we did. And it has been a good choice. It's been 12 years later. We expanded from our Cambridge location to a Granville store. That's actually, we're expanding that again right now, and we're staying in Granville. We opened up other locations. We have a location now in Rutland, Vermont. And then, of course, we had our location in Bennington, Vermont up till about 7 months ago. And as of a couple weeks ago, we're back again.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot. We love having you here, especially in this location that sat empty for so many years. So again, stay with us. We're going to go in, see the store, talk a little bit more about LaFlamme's, the history of what the events occurred while they came to Bennington. But before we do, we're going to head inside so you can see the inside of the store. Well, thanks for staying with us. We're inside, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go back and talk a little bit about the history of LaFlamme's. And Christopher, if you would, just starting back Bennington, sure. What brought you to Bennington? I know your headquarters is in New York.
Correct.
Was in New York?
Still is.
Still is in New York. And then what brought you to Bennington?
You know, my wife grew up in Bennington, and I grew up in Hoosick Falls, so we've always been a part of the community. And a lot of our business adventures kept drawing us farther away. We started in Cambridge, we went to Granville, we went to Whitehall, New York, and we decided it was time to come home. Literally, our first date, my wife told me to take a left by the big chair, and that's how I could find her house.
That's great.
We've been married 22 years, and we have 3 daughters.
And then, and you still live in New York?
We live in Vermont.
Oh, in Vermont you live?
Yeah, I went to college in Vermont back a while ago, and we moved to Vermont and stayed there ever since. So since I've been 20 years old, I've lived in Vermont.
You've been here. Oh, good for you. And so you opened the store up at the old Haynes and Kane, which is on Northside Drive, and of course the whole town is aware of the tragedy that occurred there. And our fear at the time, number one, everybody was okay, but that we'd lose you. Even though you just came to town, we didn't want to be losing you so quickly. Can you tell me some of the steps that happened, or who are some of the players that got you back up and running again and back into this historic property down in downtown Bennington?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a super fast story. There was a lot of people who worked on this project for many years. Just to back up, the day of the fire, you know, you're watching it take place, and it's very difficult to imagine what you're going to do next. You know, you're definitely in the moment, and you're not looking beyond that moment. I had Apostle James Schneider and my 19-year-old daughter, Brooke Pratt, and Joanne Hendy stood behind me all day at the fire. And the plan one was to sit down with my employees and say, okay, let's deal with the elephant in the room. You still have a job. I have, at the time, 3 other stores. There's a place for you. I'll have you work from home. We'll figure out what to do, you know, in this uncomfortable time. And then finally I made Joanne and Brooke go home. And it took me all day coaxing them to leave, and they left, and they came back an hour later, and I asked, where did you go? And they're like, we went to the post office to change your address so you wouldn't lose any mail. And those folks are still with me today, and in fact Brooke is here hiding from the camera, but she...
Great. We'll find her.
So, you know, after that day, it was within 2 weeks, the town of Bennington was very, very involved in our decision-making process. You know, obviously we had to sit down with the insurance companies and see there were some complexities with rebuilding where we were. The footprint of the building was fine. However, the basement, we weren't able to build so close to the river another basement, so we would have lost some square footage. And I was really battling with building a building that didn't mean anything in that corner. The Haynes and Canes building meant something, and I would have had a 2-story peninsula with an elevator in it that I just wasn't excited about. And I voiced that opinion very early on to Michael Harrington, Dan Monks, and we sat down and had a meeting. Gosh, within a week they asked to sit down with me and ask what can they do to help my wife and I decide to come back to Bennington. And we were blown away. I mean, only a week or so went by, and I said, give me some list of some properties that are for sale. And we kind of have the history. I love rebuilding things. I love taking something that used to be beautiful that's not beautiful anymore. Our house was vacant since 1954, and it was built in 1880. That's the home we live in. We've refurbed an apartment house in Pulteney, Vermont that was actually condemned. And we see the beauty in things of old and things that maybe have decayed, and the beauty's left them temporarily. So they gave me the list. I drove around town, and I remember walking back into the office a couple days later, and I said to Michael Harrington, I said, Michael, I have very bad news. He goes, what? I said, I'm in love with 239 West Main Street. And he says, you sure you have the right address? Is it the one up there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one up there.
The old brownfield?
Yeah. He says, I think you're mistaken. I'm not sure he really said that, but he did look as surprised as everybody else I told. But I just looked at the building and I thought, okay, now here's a place we can rebuild that we just didn't survive, but we made something beautiful out of the ashes. And in fact, I have a poster I'll refer to. I'll show you. It's in the store right now. We hung something in the store. I'll show you after.
Okay.
But it meant something. And if I'm going to build something and we're going to go through what we went through for the last 8 months, I want it to mean something. And I think this means something, not just to me, my family, and us, but the community has certainly responded in such a way it means something to them too, and that's so appreciated.
It definitely does, especially historic preservation, which is double-edged sword. It's like save what you can save, and how much do you put into an old structure to bring it back. But if you're not familiar with this building, which to be honest with you, I really wasn't. I thought, eyesore, let's get rid of it, until somebody pointed out the cupola and the post and beam and the history of the property. Which you can go to the Historical Society, and this building has a really rich history, and it was great.
Chevrolet,
yeah,
all the old cars. I saw some pictures.
Way back, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And even one of the first buildings in this whole area, this is it. And once that was brought to my attention, I started looking at the building a lot differently and thought, it really is a beautiful building. It was just let go for so long. But as you saw in the beginning, you did so much work on the facade already, and you kept the cupola on top of the building.
Yeah, we're not done with the cupola. We have plans for the cupola.
Cool.
Some copper is in its future, just not right now.
Great. Okay, that is a great story. So now you're downtown, you got it back up and running again. The town did a good job working with you.
The town, the state of Vermont.
Good to hear.
The Brownsfield, I don't know how familiar
Bennington
you are
County
with that,
Regional Commission?
Yes, in fact, I was trying to think of the acronym. I was trying to get my BR.
BCRCs. We make fun of ourselves with acronyms, and they just keep getting longer and more numerous.
So, thank you for bailing me out on that, but I was trying to look. They have been fantastic. And it should be said that both the Brownsfield and the studies and the BCRC, they worked on this way before I was in need of a building. They've been involved. Jim Henderson's been involved in this property, I think he said, for over 2.5 years.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me getting a little into that work is proactive work. And they're currently, BCRC again, and the town of Bennington and us, doing a new marketing study, because all of our material is so outdated for demographics for this area. And BCRC's done a great job acquiring the funding for that and working with the town to get it done, because we go out for developers and new businesses, and they want your marketing information, and we're giving them 12-year-old information, and they're like, that might as well be 100 years old.
Right.
But that's how they work proactively. And it's great to hear that all that work that went into it paid off.
It really did.
Because it is a lot of work.
The timing was perfect. I mean, the action plan and a lot of what needed to be done, and a lot of those unknowns, which are scary, were being resolved within days of our fire. And and I made the joke, because someone's asked who would want that building, and I said somebody who's motivated and desperate. And I found myself
one out of two ain't bad.
I found myself fulfilling both of those for a period of time. But and I felt like the building needed us, and we needed the building, and it was just a good match. And it worked really, really well. The select board. I mean, there's so many. In fact, if I tried to do the list, I would miss someone. it did not take one business or even one, you know, division of local government. We all had to work together. It was creative and a lot of work, but I think worth every second.
Yeah, we're going to make you like the poster child for any future development. I mean, everybody loved working with you. Number one, they liked the fact that you appreciated the building and your commitment to the local community and stuff. So it was very rewarding for all those groups and people that you were talking about as well.
I'm glad. They said that to my face, but it's nice to know they said
it's the truth. They were saying it behind your back as well. Everybody was. It was kind of stand back. Once you started working on this building, it was like, get out of their way. You guys went in here tearing this place apart. And,
we were blazing.
Yeah.
We were blazing.
Yeah, and Mike could stop in Harrington and say hi to you guys. He's like, you won't go in. You're like, get out of their way because they're just going to town. Well, it came out beautiful, so if you stay with us, we're going to take you through the entire building here. And you had mentioned there were some historical aspects of the building that you retained and worked right into the design of your shop. So if you stay tuned, we'll show you some of that. Sitting right now in the front section is the, like living room and furniture.
Yep.
I don't know, I'm blank on the word. What are we sitting on?
Yeah, we wanted to give kind of a taste of what we carried. So you'll see a couple of the bedrooms from here. We did have a dining room table, you know, in the front when you first came in. Just to kind of give a quick visual of what we carry and what we do. We were able to do it with, we'd sell flooring, so the flooring, this is actually a rubber floor, which dealt with some of the moisture issues that the building, you know, had some challenges in that and there. And
yeah, because you're right on the river here.
Yeah, we're right on the river, so that actually creates a moisture barrier, which we needed and I felt would be important for the comfort of customers and the furniture. Then we were able to take down the ceiling. Scott Hutton and Barry Bishop did all of the woodwork, all the coffered ceiling that you see was done by them. They're the same people who built the big chair
nice.
A couple of years ago. So and then we had the Bob Padalino and just we had at one point I had 5 different crews in here doing the construction and doing the refurb.
Great. Well, it definitely looks beautiful. And again, we had mentioned we're in the living room section right now. There's bedding over there. There's appliances further down to that end of the building. Correct. I see like TVs back in this section, and then it's endless furniture all the way through, right?
There's a lot to look at.
All right. Well, stay with us. We're going to take on a quick tour, and maybe if we can pop in and you can catch some of your employees hiding over there, get them on camera, and introduce them to the public.
I'm hoping to. We'll see how that goes.
Great. Okay. Stay with us. We'll give you a tour. Thing I couldn't tell if it was 3 connected seats.
Yeah, this is amazing. First of all, it's 3 seats, but you also have, and I'll have to make sure I can do it correctly. It's been a while since I've been here. This flips up. So here you have USB port. You have AC to plug in. You have 2 lights on it when it's plugged in to be able to reading lights, and then everything is touch. So if you touch that button right there, it's a power recline. And then you'll see we have some big screen televisions. If you hit the green button, you can actually adjust the headrest behind you. I don't know if you can feel it coming up.
Oh.
So then you just live there and you don't move. I even have a recliner over there.
Oh, so it's going up and down as well?
Yeah, so tilt your head back. It affects you more when you're reclined, of course. And then if you're reclined way back, it'll tilt your head so you can still see the televisions. And then the recliner behind you actually has a cooler in it. So you don't have to leave your chair.
Oh, you're right. That's what's missing, a cooler. I could live in this thing. I feel like I'm on first class on an airline somewhere.
It does have that, yeah, it's definitely that theater
Not that I know what first class on an airline is like, but...
It's definitely that theater seating feel more so than just the sofa. But
well, this is beautiful. This is the way to watch movies. This is amazing. This is a lighted cup holder. So when all the lights are off, you don't spill your drink?
Yeah, I think the bottom's even illuminated so you can find your way out of the
back
room.
To the seats. This is amazing.
The lodge room. This was a room that when we first purchased the building, we looked at it and we just couldn't immediately, you know, get a vision for what it was going to be. And it was the second time I came to see the store, and I started looking and I thought, that's it. It's cozy. So we have the camouflage chairs in here. We have the bear and moose pictures. It's just this screen that's going to be the lodge room. So, and this is. In our other stores, it's actually just a couple of sofas next to a wall. In this store, we dedicated an entire room to the theme. This is actually the original cement floor, and I wanted this to be the entryway. So what we decided to do with many of the floors is stain them with concrete stain. So I was staining it, and I wanted to make a pattern. So we had this lattice grid that we moved around the floor. Well, my spray gun broke, and it started squirting stain all over the place, and it started dripping, and then we put fans on it to try to dry it up, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're ruining. And I stopped and I'm like, this is beautiful. So we actually took the fans and we started doing it on purpose. And if you look, there's swirls, and all of this was started as an accident, and we actually kind of ran with it, and it's one of my favorite floors in the whole store. All right, so this is our appliance room where we feature Frigidaire and LG, as well as GE appliances. All of our stores have a small and modest appliance section. We decided to go a little bit bigger for here in Bennington, and we also incorporated our flooring. So we have carpet, vinyl, laminate, ceramic tile. We started bringing in stainless steel and black appliances, and it's actually a very fast-growing category within our company. So about 4 years ago, we became an America's Mattress sleep gallery. America's Mattress was always a standalone sleep shop, and they actually formed a program, and we were one of the first to join, and they modeled it nationally, where the sleep centers are right in the furniture store. So we have the largest selection of iComforts, iSeries, and adjustable platforms available, and then we have all of the Serta exclusive offers and the America's Mattress exclusive offers as well. My staff is actually required to go to the factory for training, and then every 6 months they get retrained. So when you come into product and the technology, you wouldn't think it's a mattress, but it changed so much. Serta is the only company that has their only onboard full-time chemist in order to come up with all of the dual action gels, the cooling gels. Memory foam is extremely comfortable, but the problem was traditionally it was very hot. So they came up with a cooling gel and a cooling agent that makes all of these mattresses very comfortable no matter what the temperature is. What's really nice is all of them come with a 25-year warranty. We have an extremely large selection of iSeries. What they do is they take all of the benefits of the cooling action gel plus all of the iComfort technology, and they combine it with the traditional inner spring technology. So it's almost like a hybrid. What's really nice about Serta is they put their money where their mouth is. 90 days in-home guarantee, comfort guarantee. So you actually have 3 months to make sure you like the mattress. So if you don't like the mattress within 3 months, you return it to me and I get you a different mattress. Then as far as the warranty goes, it's 25 years long. 15 of it is non-prorated. It's the #1 selling mattress in the United States. And what's nice is Consumer Reports has actually declared the iSeries and the iComforts as the best values. We had a lot of fun with this room. We actually won that bicycle at Furniture Market, and so we immediately knew what we were going to do with it, and we suspended it from the ceiling. That plane is actually donated by Jim Henderson.
Really?
And because he saw we were trying to do kind of the older antique toys. We have an old Red Ryder sled over there on the wall, and there's some fish tanks around the corner that you can't see that we did as well.
And this is furniture that you're spotlighting or highlighting for children? For children,
yeah,
exactly. It's all children's-sized beds and tables and everything. It's very nice. That's a great creative way to do it.
All right. Well, we actually used the original engine hoists that were here, and there's a pulley system and a track system that we utilize for all our fabric swatches.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh, it is.
So all of my stores have fish tanks, and we try to do something really special. In the children's room, you can actually see the fish tanks through the wall. And this is the other side of the wall where we made it look like a curio cabinet, because this is where we have all of our dining room tables.
No, really creative. And this is the selection of what you have for all the dining room the sets?
Yeah, we have,
it's all dining. Yep.
Each one represents about 8 different variations. So every table you see comes in 3 or 4 different colors with 3 or 4 different chairs. And we have catalogs where you can really mix and match a lot of what you're looking at.
Yep. Christopher, before we close out, I'm going to ask you some of the specific information that Alicia always reminds me to ask, and that's, first of all, is your address.
Okay, 239 West Main Street.
Phone number?
802-681-7381.
And website?
www.laflammesinc.com or laflammes.com, both will work.
That's fantastic. You know all that information right off the bat. That's pretty impressive. All right, and I realize as we're talking about exactly where they're located, easy way to say it is they're right next door to Sunnyside Diner. Y'all know where that is. And when I said that, Christopher brought up an interesting point. That, what did they do?
Yeah, over the rebuild, which took 3 months, as you can imagine, the last month we had to start ordering our merchandise. So they would actually clear a table in the back at Sunnyside Diner, and I would come in with my various reps and companies, and I would call it my office, and then we'd have breakfast or lunch, and we'd do all of our ordering right there at the diner. And they were fantastic. Just couldn't offer us more. Let my employees go over to use the facilities. It was great.
Oh, good for them, and it's a great spot too. But one thing I had mentioned to you, and I think this is something you should try because I think you're going to find it very interesting, is before we came over to shoot, I went to your website to check it out, and I just actually collected all that information we were just talking about. But I got kind of intrigued about your website. It's very, very interesting to the point that you can see every single item listed. You can even click on, you called it the compare button, click on 4 different lamps, and then it brings it to one page so you can look at them all simultaneously. But I didn't even get that far in where you told me there's other features too, which are great.
Yeah, there's a room planner, which is like a 2-dimensional graph that you can move the furniture around and you plug in the dimensions of your room. There's a thing called draping where you take, like these are washable slip covers, and you can click on this model, and then you can click on any of these fabrics, and it would actually change the color right before your eyes of the sofa, and it would appear in the color that you selected.
So you can see all of this stuff, pick and change the colors, place them the way you want them, how they fit in the room. Dimensionally it all fits, and you just plug in the dimensions of your rooms?
Correct.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, go check it out. I think you'll find it very interesting too, and it's great to see all the items that you have here. It really is gigantic, this location, and literally thousands and thousands of pieces. And I picked out one of my favorite, and you told me it's what, the most expensive piece in the store?
Beautiful leather.
So it works.
You have good taste.
Oh, excellent. Christopher, thank you very much for your time today. Good luck to you guys, and we love having you downtown.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. And we'll be back in a couple of months, see how they're going, how things are going. And so thanks for staying with us this far. If you hang in there, in about 5 minutes, we're going to head over to the New England Baptist College, which also just joined us downtown. They recently purchased the Kirkside Motel for some dorm space for their students. And as you all know, they started off at Grace Christian School on the top 2 floors. So we're going to welcome them downtown as the college campus expands and is right here in downtown Bennington. We're going to start over at the Old Paradise Restaurant, which is the student center, some offices, and of course the student library. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for staying with us for that first story, but we have 2 good stories this month. First there was LaFlamme's Furniture, and now we're back with Northeastern Baptist College, who a few years ago, you might remember meeting President Mark Ballard. Mark, thank you very much for letting us come back in again today.
Yeah, good to be with you again, Joe.
Same here. And even better that we're meeting downtown instead of at the Grace Christian School up on Northside Drive. That in itself was an exciting story, that Grace Christian grew into that school and had the space available when you came to Bennington. And you did a lot of work over there. I was watching the renovations. And why don't you give us a little, what's been happening in the last 3 years?
Well, we finished the renovations over there of the 3rd floor, which is where all of our classrooms are, student hangout areas, that kind of stuff. Most of the 4th floor is complete with offices. We do have some areas of construction that we're not using at the moment right now that will probably develop in the future. But since that time, we also secured this building. I think it was about the time that we interviewed that we purchased, or actually went into a lease agreement, a lease option on this building, and was just starting the renovations, so we didn't actually come over here at that time. But it is nearly complete now, and our library is active. And so we have done that here at the Old Paradise Restaurant here downtown. Yeah,
you just let the cat out of the bag. I was going to ask you, I asked if we could sit in front of the backdrop here to see how many of you would recognize it.
Sorry about that, John.
That's okay. It is still recognizable, especially this way. That definitely looks like the Paradise, but this does look so much different.
Yes.
And a little later on, we're gonna meet Jim Mancuso, who is your head librarian.
That's correct.
And he operates this facility here.
Yes.
And over, which I think most people would know as the banquet facility, is the library itself.
That's correct. That is where our main stacks are, our circulation area and so forth, yes.
And then behind this fireplace, which used to be the lounge, is now a meeting room?
We use it as a meeting room right now. We plan sometime within the next year to open it up for just a snack shop for our students.
For the students?
Yes.
And then over where the restaurant tables used to be are offices?
Offices and 2 special collection rooms, as well as a multi-purpose room. For instance, The local Weight Watchers group meets there on Monday nights. And
so people have meetings here and
Yes.
stuff. Oh, great.
Yes.
Very good. Well, the property's coming out beautiful. And you know, this has been going on for a couple of years. Most of you know that Northeastern Baptist College has been occupying this building. But just recently, you also read in the paper that you purchased the old Kirkside Motel.
Yes.
What's happening there? And this, I think, to me personally, is the best news of all, because I always talk about one thing where we really, really lack downtown is people living down here.
Yes, we purchased the old Kirkside just about a month ago now, and we're currently in the process of transforming that into dormitories for our students.
And how many rooms are you expecting to be able to get out of the motel?
Well, there's 25 rooms plus an apartment that is there. Part of that area, in the front area that people see that's 2-story, we're actually making that a commons area.
Oh,
so
right.
we'll
Yeah.
have about 21 rooms out of that will be used for dorm purposes.
2 students per room?
Most rooms will be 2 students per room. There are some rooms that we could house 3, meeting the dorm regulations. So.
Sure, yeah, because some of those rooms over there were
Or larger,
suites or whatever,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
What's your timeline or game plan for the work?
Great question. We are right now in the process of really upgrading the fire protection systems. There are different regulations for motels, obviously, than dormitories.
Right.
In addition to that, we just want to make sure our students are well taken care of. So there was only a partial system of fire sprinklers, and so we are upgrading that. In addition, the alarm system there was not interconnected, so we're in that process as well. So probably mid to end September before we have students living there.
So you're going to move some students in
We will move
this
some
semester?
students in this semester, yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
That's great news. And I would like to say congratulations, and Diane, who works with me, is going to be upset because I can't think, somebody from the school called us.
Okay.
We do each year the welcome bags for all the
Yes.
incoming freshmen.
Yes.
And each year it's working with all the schools trying to figure out when their orientations are, how many students are coming in, and trying to coordinate everything. And last week, which is that's when we have in our calendars, because I can't get information from any of the colleges,
Sure.
We received a call unsolicited from the school saying, here's our orientation dates and here's how many students we have coming in. And I looked at Diane and I was like, how many people have it in their calendar to actually give us a call?
Actually, John, that's really your fault, because last year we were not aware of the program.
Yep.
And you called us after you had given out those welcome bags and said, hey, sorry, we know you're new. This is your first year. We didn't think about it. And you brought them. And you met Sharon McCaskill at that moment, and you asked her to remind you this year.
Did I really?
And she put it on her calendar.
Good for Sharon. Sharon, you deserve a gold medal for that one.
Very well organized.
Now, if Sharon, you could just call all the other 5 colleges and have them do the same thing. Our job would be nice and easy. But it's been exciting doing that. So, and the number, my pleasure. And actually, not just my pleasure. It's all the businesses in town are very excited to do it. They love the fact, and they want to make sure we're getting the packages, and they all want to see what they look like afterward and get a total of what's in there. So we like doing it, and the merchants throwing stuff at us to throw in there. So
well, we appreciate it very much.
It's a lot of fun. And now the student total I got was you have 20 incoming freshmen for this semester.
That's right, and we may still have some more coming in. We don't, over the next 2 weeks, we'll still be adding some students. The really big story on that, though, is that we have more full-time students this year than we had last year. So last year we had about 42 students that started in the fall.
Yeah.
Our spring semester we had 44 students, but only about I think 6 or 7 of those in the fall were full-time.
Yeah.
And so all of these incoming that Sharon told you about are all full-time students. So we're excited about that. And then we have some part-time students as well. And we have others that will be auditing classes just as we did last year. So.
Sure.
So we're excited about the growth, particularly in the full-time student area.
That's great. Yeah. Now, so that means you have a junior class and a freshman class and a sophomore class.
That is true. We did have some both years that transferred credits in as well. So we actually have some that are juniors as well because of that.
So you'll be graduating some students next year?
Hopefully
That's
so,
the plan?
as long as they keep progressing with
Sure.
it. So, yes.
That's a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
It all depends.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be exciting. I wasn't expecting a graduating class for a couple more years, but I didn't think that transferring in, they sure could
Right, now,
graduate.
not next spring, obviously, but the following spring. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
Spring of 2016, most likely.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you very much. If you anything else you want to add before we turn this over to Jim?
You know what? I really am excited about you guys meeting with my Vice President of Library Services, Jim Mancuso, and letting him show you around the library.
That's great. Thanks again for your time,
Great.
Mark.
Thank you, John.
Stay with. Now that you're staying with us, I told you we take into the library up here at Northeastern Baptist College, and Jim, I have to apologize. You keep calling it New England Baptist College,
okay.
and Mark. Well, first of all, Alicia's had to edit, and Mark's had to correct me. I've been saying it now for 3 years correctly. I don't know why today I'm not. Anyway, here we are in the library, and I'd like to introduce you to Jim Mancuso. Jim, you are the Vice President of
Library Services.
Library Service.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for giving us some time today, and
Sure.
congratulations and
my pleasure.
welcome downtown. We haven't had a chance to really talk in this location yet. But as I was saying earlier, this is what used to be the banquet facility of the Paradise Restaurant.
That's right.
Timeline, how long ago was that you started work on this building?
We first walked into this building to assess whether or not this was the building that we wanted to be in October of 11. And then it was April of 12 before we finally decided for sure that this is where we wanted to put the library and actually rented the building.
Yep. And so you leased the building for a couple of years.
Right.
And then just recently.
Right. We've had donors who have put down the money to actually purchase it for us. So that process is still working its way through. We don't officially own it yet, but we will eventually.
Yeah. That's great news. And the room we're in right now, I know there's other areas you're going to show us, but this is the actual library.
That's right. Yeah. The main collection is here. This room used to be the banquet hall. It was the banquet facility for the Paradise Inn, and of course many people in Bennington and the surrounding areas remember a lot of events happening here in this room. Weddings, graduations, all sorts of events happened here. Just about everyone who comes in to tour the library says, I remember such and such a party right here in this room, then it was closed for a while, and they're delighted to see that it's being used again and put to such a good use.
Yeah, we were talking to Christopher down the street at LaFlamme's too. It's when a building sits unoccupied for a while, it's kind of disturbing to see, but especially one that has such history to it.
Right.
And people are emotionally attached. So it's great when you came in and people can come in and see it again.
Yeah, exactly.
And did a really nice job on it.
Oh, thank you.
It had to be pretty extensive, the amount of work. It's a good sized building.
Yep, it's been very extensive work. Obviously you have structural and mechanical things, such as fixing the roof, the electric, the plumbing, those sorts of things. But the building had what we would call good bones, that it was a very solid building, and it was very well suited to the new purpose that we would make for it. So for instance, this room here being roughly 40 by 70 feet in size works out perfectly for the main collection of the library, and then we're able to use the other areas within the building for offices and special collections. So when we looked at this room here, it was very dated. It was chocolate brown, off-white, and an old 70s carpet and so forth. It was good for its day, but we wanted to give it a totally different look, so we redid it in this color scheme. And it was all done, John, with volunteer labor. We had people working in this room from most of the southern states, along with New York and Vermont and New Hampshire, people just donating their time to transform this room and take my vision, my design of it, and make it a reality, which was really quite a delight.
And they, on their vacation time, they donate their time, they drive up
That's
here,
right.
and whatever, you guys get them up here, and
That's right.
I think you put them up and you feed them in the whole shooting match while
That's
they're doing work.
Yep.
Be it a week or 2 weeks or whatever time they have available.
Right, whatever time they had available. Some of the teams insisted on paying for their own motel rooms and meals and so forth. They just wanted to be a blessing to us. So they provided that all on their own and then just provided the labor here. Usually each team would want to spend a few hours touring the area. So we would hook up a tour of the Hemmings Museum right across the street for them, take them to the monument, show them Old Bennington, the covered bridges and so forth, and each one of them was just delighted with the Bennington area. Thought that this was a marvelous place to put it. Most of the teams, too, like to take a drive up Carpenter Hill and
Yeah,
take a look at the
beautiful
whole
up there.
valley from up there. They've come mostly in the summer, a few of them in foliage season, and so they really did enjoy it.
That's great news.
Yeah.
What's next on the agenda?
Next on the agenda for me here is finishing the rooms here that haven't been finished yet. As you can see, this one is nearing completion. We have some that still need to be painted. We have one room that is just still back at the starting stages of being worked on. That's going to be done in honor of someone who planted churches here in this area back in the 1960s and 70s. He was a Southern Baptist preacher at the time. We're naming it in honor of him, and it will contain hundreds of rare books, and we'll make the room look like a classic old New England study room. So we have all that designed, and now it's in process. People have donated the money for it, and in a few months we'll be able to show you that.
That's nice.
when
And
it's
who,
done.
who is the room going to be in honor of? What's his
Michael Alford is his name.
name? Where is he from?
He's been living over in the Schenectady area for the last few decades, but he worked here in Massachusetts and New Hampshire in the 60s and 70s. He's actually natively of North Carolina, so he covers all three areas.
That's great
Yeah.
news. All right, and of course it's a student library, so you kind of have an idea how this gets used, but now the students currently aren't living, we're not on campus. Your
Right.
campus is split up across town,
Right.
so I know it must take a lot of coordinating to get
does.
students from classrooms to the library to
Right.
their dormitories.
Mhm.
How do they get down here and how do they use it? And when do you see the students here most?
Many of the students have their own automobiles, so one or two of them will just drive a car down, or if a professor is on his way here, then he would bring them over. They use the library to find the books that they want. We have a few CDs and DVDs down one of the aisles for those students that are dealing with music, but just about everything else is online. So so for instance, you won't see any journals here in this room at all, and you won't see any of the old media from the 20th century, such as microfilm, microfiche, and 8-track tapes, old audio cassettes, VHS tapes. You're not going to see any of that. We just don't even start with it. So the students come here to borrow the books that they are going to need for their classes, for their class assignments, and so forth, interact with me or whoever else is manning it at the time to help them locate the right areas, and they use it as a study and meeting area.
Yeah.
Of course, a library of the 21st century is now being seen as a forum. This is a place where people come together to do projects together, to eat and talk and fellowship together, and so we make spaces for that. In fact, these tables that we're sitting at right here were given to us by Williams College.
Nice.
I have friends down there. They just called me up one day and said, "Hey, we have some tables that we don't need anymore. Do you want them for your library?" And that's really how a lot of what you see in the library right now has come together.
Now, and you said it's almost finished and you have ideas for the rest of the school, and it's something I don't normally do, but it made me think of something. You must have a wish list a mile long. Displays in the Bennington and surrounding area communities. Is there something on your wish list that maybe somebody else in the community could help you out with or might be interested in becoming part of this project? Equipment-wise, book-wise, furniture or fixtures?
Right at the moment.
Cash.
Yes, cash. Cash always helps, of course. Maybe some volunteer labor.
And volunteer labor, for sure. Okay.
Yep. One of the things that I would say is at the top of my wish list is right over to my right is an old fireplace, and we would really love to see that rehabbed and working again. So my vision for it is that it goes two ways. It points both forward into the atrium and back into what will be our lounge. So I would love to see something like maybe a pellet stove, a fake gas fireplace or something like that. Because the lounge area behind the fireplace, we want to have that open to students, to faculty, maybe even eventually to the public, have a coffee house atmosphere with guitar music and free books. I mean, how many libraries do you get to go into where you get free books, right? Wi-Fi access and coffee and donuts, that sort of thing. So all of that will really come together when we have some soft seating and the fireplace working. So I guess that would be on my wish list.
Okay, and soft seating then too as well.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and of course it's, and that's great, thank you for that.
Sure.
And if, I know we're going to head over and see the rest of the building right now, but before we do, somebody needs to get a hold of you. How do they do that?
They could either come here in person or probably go to our website, www.nebcvt.org, and all the contact information is right there. They could call me, email me, so forth.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Thanks for staying with us, and as promised, now we're going to take you down through the rest of the building and show you what's behind the scenes.
Okay.
It's kind of cozy back here and
Right.
private.
Yep.
There's some tables, chairs, and
Right.
books, and we were talking
Right.
about the books which you had mentioned earlier.
Yep.
This selection is free to the public.
Just free to the public, free to the women from the campus that would come back here to spend time back here. We've put back here the books that I can't use in the library. So they're not things that I wanted to catalog and put on the shelves, but I just wanted them to benefit the female students of the campus. So we've put them back here, everything from weddings and cookbooks to how to manage their household,
Yeah.
so forth. So those are available there for the women students, and we have, comfortable seating back here. Just trying to, again, make it that sort of an atmosphere here in the building that would be welcoming. Come here, sit around, talk, go home with a book with the information that you need.
And you had said faculty too comes
Sure.
here.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
okay, great. It's a beautiful place. Stay with us. We're going to go a little further in.
In this room right here is the processing room. You'll see thousands of books that have been donated to us, and those have come really from all sorts of sources, from other Christian colleges here in New England, from secular and state schools, from individuals and churches who just wanted to donate the books to me. Not only theological and religious in nature, but also things on history, things on literature, economics and business, music, all the topics that we'll be teaching here in the college. So it's been really wonderful to have these things. Sometimes people bring them, sometimes it's a matter of me getting together with a missions team and or students, renting a truck and going out and actually getting the books and the shelving and bringing it here. But all the shelving that you see in the whole building, and almost all the books, like maybe just shy of 100 or so of the total, have been donated. The conference room that we've set up right here is meant to be multifunctional, and we're going to use it for things like board meetings and for training and so forth here at the college, but also we wanted this to be an outreach to the community. So on Monday evenings, this is where Weight Watchers meets, and they've been meeting here in the building already for a year. And as you can see, the room isn't quite finished. We're still working on it, but it's been wired for internet and wired for electric, so that it'd be very easy to do presentations in there. And we really are just very glad to be a part of the community and have an outside group be able to come in and use the facility.
It's a nice facility, and I think the most exciting part to me is that it's not done yet. And as I'm looking further down the hallway, it's
Right.
less and less done.
That's right.
So I see such a future growing, and it's exciting to
That's right.
watch it happen since the day you guys moved here to
Yeah.
how far you've come and
Yeah.
how far your plans really are till
Sure.
they go. So it's going to be exciting watching it.
Yeah.
So
One of the most exciting aspects of this is that I've had the fantastic pleasure and privilege, really, of being able to lay all these things down on paper, discuss things with President Ballard, make the plans, interact with some of the other faculty and employees and say, what do we want in this building? Draw lines on paper and then hand that to these missions teams of volunteers who have come here from all over the country, and they make it a reality.
yeah.
They're willing to spend the time and sweat and energy and money here, putting up the walls, putting up the doors, hanging the ceilings and doing all the work that actually transformed this whole wing of the building into what it is now.
If you do have any of those skills that you think they could use here at Northeastern Baptist College, just give Jim a call. I said they would really appreciate it, and I think you would appreciate it too, knowing that your work and your skill and your time went into such a nice project, especially now that you're opening it up to the public too, and
Right.
you were such a closely knit part of our community.
Right.
They're going down a few more rooms. They're all under construction right
Right,
now.
yeah.
But before we close out, you can stay with us. We're just going to join Mark again. And you had brought up the term mission teams.
Right.
And I think there's a really interesting story behind that that I think the public would be interested in hearing. That few years, now it was right after Irene, that Pastor Phil Stedman
Right.
from the Capstone
Church in North
Church
Bennington, yep.
told me that. I found it was very interesting, and I think you'd all be interested in hearing that. So come on with us. We're going to have Mark come back, and we'll close out the show. Well, we're going to close out the show, but before we do, I was talking with Jim a few minutes ago about the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief Program. The reason I wanted to bring this up and take a few minutes is I had mentioned that Pastor Phil had introduced me to that concept back after Irene hit. And he called me one day and said, John, do you have any contacts about who might be in immediate need, what homes were most seriously affected, and who needs some help? Because we have some people that can be here very quickly, fully equipped, fully trained to help. So, of course, I turned him over to the town, but I said, why do you have a team ready to do this? And he started to explain to me that the Southern Baptist Church is second behind the American Red Cross for disaster preparedness.
Yes, we have, our North American Mission Board has an extensive ministry called Disaster Relief. You will see them on TV for tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, whatever, in responding to that. And you'll see them in yellow shirts is how you'll recognize.
You were saying yellow hats, yellow shirts.
Yellow shirts. And we do work very extensively with Red Cross, as well as Salvation Army and other relief groups. We work with FEMA. And basically, it's volunteers who are ready at the drop of the hat. They're trained in various areas. We have teams that are trained in mud outs for flood situations, chainsaw teams for like when they've actually responded in northern New England several times when there's been power outages that were extensive, and they would come.
Huge storms, tree removal, and all of that. Yeah.
Tornadoes. In fact, the big tornadoes in Missouri and Oklahoma a couple years ago, we were extensively involved in that. And so we have teams that are ready at the drop of a hat to go from all over the country to anywhere in the country, and sometimes internationally to help with that. So mud out, chainsaw, feeding units. We have shower units where they bring them in for the workers to take showers, do their laundry, that kind of stuff when they're on the scene. Because very often, as you know, there's no place to get fresh water in those situations. You
had brought up 9/11,
right?
Where the shower units came in handy in the water, just helping people get cleaned up.
Absolutely. In fact, some of the guys that I was pastoring in New Hampshire at the time, in southern New Hampshire, and several of the guys from our church were disaster relief trained. They went down to help with 9/11. They did clean outs of apartments. They helped feed people. They ran shower units and that kind of stuff. Because when you're in that, you're working it all day, and there's really no normal facilities. So what are you going to do? So like our trailers, many of them, what they'll have is one side of the trailer will be all showers, or the other side will be washers and dryers, and that kind of stuff. And we have workers who run those units for you. They come in, you get a shower, you change clothes, you come back later and get your clothes that have been washed.
That's amazing. And you get call to action. Red Cross calls you the moment they're called upon?
Very often. And then it just depends on how big the disaster is, how far reaching it is.
Yeah.
When we responded here in the state of Vermont a few years ago with Katrina, we actually had people from as far away as Washington State that was here. We had people from Georgia. We had people from Oklahoma, all over the place who came to help respond to that. North Carolina. What triggered that action? Was it through the local pastors? Through the local church. Which is the way it usually happens. So you'll have a disaster in an area, and sometimes it's the Red Cross makes the call first. Sometimes it's the local church pastor picks up the phone, calls our North American Mission Board, says we need to activate, and then they send a team out who assesses and says how big of activation we need to have. And are we talking the same people that you call upon to help do projects like this that are also? Actually, many of those teams that do disaster relief also have helped us. We have several of those teams who have done that, yes. That's great news. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring that up because it really made an impact in our community a few years ago. And interesting thought that I don't think most people know about, and I just thought you might be interested. Alicia's telling us to wrap up the show as quickly as possible. So, Mark, I just wanted to say thank you one more time. It's Northeastern Baptist College. Make sure you stop by and introduce yourself. Jim, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You guys are doing an amazing job here, and we love having you downtown. Great. And a blessing to the entire community. Thanks again for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed the show today. If you have any questions, give us a call at the BBC.
Our number is 442-5758. Or you can visit us at our website, and that's www.betterbennington.com. Right now we have on the website some information on Fallapalooza. If you're interested in being a vendor, you can click the application right there, plus any upcoming events. Check out our website and friend us on Facebook.